You guys all quieted down pretty quickly when everybody walked in. What's that all about? Well, I have the privilege of kind of setting the stage a little bit differently than I did yesterday with you all, and I hope you all have had a great day today as much as you had a great day yesterday. And again, we're so happy to have everybody here. We had a really interesting thing happen this morning. There was some traffic issues. I don't know if you guys got stuck in it out there because of a Nickelodeon thing that was taking place at our basketball arena, Galen Center. And KNX radio came on and said it was all because of APBO at USC. So, we get blamed for a lot of things. We'll take that one. And you can pay for advertising and it never gets to anybody. Well, that advertising got to everybody. So we'll take full credit even though it wasn't us that did it. But just a couple of thoughts. Where else but here at USC can we convene for a conference that brings together 14 different Asia-Pacific markets at the most international global university in the United States as we prepare to hear from the first Chinese American to serve the Secretary of Commerce and now be nominated to the post of ambassador to China. And that's all at lunch. Dick Drobnik and his team, Patrick Santillo and the team from the U.S. Commercial Service have done a wonderful job of putting this together and putting an impressive roster together. And we couldn't be more pleased, as I said yesterday to all of you, to be hosting APBO. And it's just wonderful to see all of you here and to hope that you've had the kind of experience that we wanted you to have. Today I'm really pleased to welcome the mayor of our great city, a mayor who's making his mark through several initiatives of importance to all of us in the Los Angeles area, both in clean technology and strong schools, which are critical to him and critical to us. He has very strong ties to the University of Southern California. He was a commencement speaker for us a number of years ago. We awarded him with an honorary doctorate. And just the other day, his daughter was accepted to the freshman class. Now we have to decide if she's going to come here or not. We got a little sales job to do on our side. Just going to make sure. That's all. I just want to make sure. We don't like losing any good students. We don't like to lose, as you well know. He and I have talked about that before, seeing as how he's an alum at UCLA. We talk about winning and losing. But I think that he really has an understanding of USC's role as an urban university and how important that is and how much we really enjoy helping the mayor and his office in the initiatives that they put forth. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure to introduce the 41st mayor of the city of Los Angeles, Antonio Villaraigosa.
Thank you, Dean Ellis, for stealing my lines. I was about to share with everybody, proud daddy that I am, that my daughter just got accepted to USC. And as a Bruin, I now have, I guess, someone to cheer with and celebrate this great university. Let me just say a couple of other things. First of all, when you mentioned that SC was blamed for the traffic, you should know usually in this town I'm blamed for the traffic. And the potholes and, as you know, we passed Measure R, half-penny sales tax in the middle of a recession. We've actually taxed ourselves in this county a penny and a half to invest in transportation and infrastructure. And almost from the very beginning, people would say, well, that's great that you're building a subway and you're doubling the size of the rail system and that LA's going to finally be connected, but why don't you fix my potholes? And of course, I say to them, yes, ma'am, I will. It's great to be here at SC once again. I can't tell you the number of times I come onto this campus, and I am a proud recipient of an honorary doctorate, but importantly, as the mayor of this city, I recognize just how important this institution is, not just to the fabric, and both the social and political fabric of and economic fabric of this town, but to its spirit. That Trojan spirit is a spirit that really kind of personifies or symbolizes rather what this city is all about. And of course, I want to thank Dean Ellis and the USC School, Marshall School of Business for helping to host today's event. Acknowledge, of course, Secretary Locke, who I'll be able to introduce in just a moment. But I also want to thank the businesses that are here. You know, I had a few minutes with the Secretary, but you've heard me say and say quite often that this is the city, the capital of the Pacific Rim. In fact, our good friend Steve Sample first coined that phrase and then said, but you know what, if you say it, more people will hear it. So I always acknowledge that he came up with the phrase, and it really is true. This is the city where that looks east and not west. There was a time in America when New York was, and still in many ways is, the hub, but the future of America is right here. When you look at the new census and see, we not only have people who come from 140 countries, speak 200 languages, 37 nationalities have their largest population here outside of their country of origin. I left earlier today an event with the U.S.-Japan Council on this whole issue of the earthquake and tsunami relief coordination. And I mentioned that we have the largest Japanese American population in the United States, along with New York, the largest Chinese American population, the largest Filipino population outside of the Philippines, we're the 7th largest Korean city, the largest Armenian, Lebanese, Mexican, Guatemalan, El Salvadoran, you name it, Israeli. And that diversity is a big reason why looking east and south and other places around the world makes so much business sense for this town. We have the people here that connect to the rest of the world. The largest port in the United States, we move 44% of all the seaborne goods that enter this port. The largest destination and airport in the United States. And when people from Asia, when they think about the one place they want to come to in the United States, they think about Hollywood. They think about LA. And so it's very, very important for us to leverage our strategic assets, this great university for one, our port and our airport, and really figure out what we can do to support and participate in the President's National Export Initiative that we are very, very supportive here. Wants to double the percentage of exports from the United States. And this is the place. This is going to be the epicenter of where that occurs. And I think last year, in the first year, they had a 17% growth, and they need to sustain a 14% growth in order to be able to double that. And we want to be that focal point, that gateway, if you will. So I wanted to be here. I was actually on my way to Washington, D.C. when I was asked if I would introduce the Secretary. And of course, I said I'll take a later flight to introduce him, because this is a man who's not just the first Chinese American to hold this position as Secretary, but also Secretary of Commerce, but also the first Chinese American to hold any significant cabinet position. But importantly, he was also a governor, and a very successful governor. And, you know, Mr. Secretary, I was going to call you Gary, but Mr. Secretary, you know, you deserve your title, so I'm going to give Mr. Secretary, I was thinking, you know, when I watched you as governor and see you operate now as Secretary of Commerce, you have something in common with President Obama. And I'd like to think that's something that I've always tried to stand for. You never ran to be the first. You acknowledged it. You wanted to be a leader for all the people. And while we sometimes reach these milestones of being the first, what's important is it reaffirms what a great country we live in. It reaffirms that in this great United States of America, you can trace your ancestors to China, Japan, to Mexico, to Africa, to any place in the world, and you can make it. And the Secretary has been the point person for President Obama's ambitious economic and job creation initiatives. And now, as you all know, has been nominated to be ambassador to China. And so we are very, very excited about the prospect of having Ambassador Locke there representing our great country, in a country that he traces roots to, but importantly a country that is rising and whose rise we hope will be a rise that is an anchor for what America's interests have always been about, whether they're economic or our democratic ideals. And so it's now my pleasure to welcome a man who worked as a young man in exchange for English lessons. That was a unique story, a great American story. Help me in welcoming Secretary Gary Locke.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and it's really a pleasure to have you here, and I know that you've got to catch that plane, but thank you very much. And I do want to recognize Mayor Villaraigosa for his incredible work on the U.S. Census. We actually brought in the census 25% under budget, had an all-time response rate, and really thanks to the outreach, public service announcements, your personal involvement, all your staff, and really bringing together community leaders, business leaders, religious leaders to really make the 2010 census such a great success. So thank you very, very much. Thank you. And good luck to your daughter as she becomes a Bruin. No, excuse me, a Trojan. It's really a pleasure to be here with all of you, and I want to give a special thanks to all the great people who helped make today's event possible. Obviously, Mayor Villaraigosa and his entire team from his office, but also Dean Ellis of the Marshall School of Business here at USC, and all of the folks at USC. Thank you very much for sponsoring this Asia Pacific Business Outlook Conference. I think the Marshall School has done this for many, many, many years. And also Dick Drobnik, Director of the Center for International Business, Education, and Research. And of course, all of our folks from the U.S. Department of Commerce, our U.S. Commercial Service team, and I see many of you from all around the world here gathered, or at least from Asia. It's really good to see you. The Commerce Department has been partnering with USC and the Marshall School to stage this Asia Pacific Business Outlook meeting for more than 20 years. And these Outlook meetings have a long track record of success, which is why we brought the Commerce Department's New Market, New Jobs Business Tour here today. Of course, as we meet this week to discuss the important business of exports, many of us are also thinking of our friends in Japan, as the mayor indicated, who are dealing with much more immediate and pressing problems. And I join with all Americans in extending our deepest condolences to the Japanese people in the wake of this terrible earthquake and tsunami. And our hearts go out to the families and the communities that have been so torn apart by this unimaginable disaster. And the United States is doing everything it can to help the Japanese people recover. The United States government has deployed disaster assistance response teams that include personnel ranging from nuclear experts to urban search and rescue teams. And we know that this recovery effort in Japan will obviously take many years, but the United States will be there every single year to help out until the job is done. There can be no doubt that Japan will emerge stronger from this crisis. That's the nature and the character of the Japanese people. And there's no doubt that the Asia-Pacific region, with Japan at the forefront, will continue to be an economic engine for the entire world. Helping Southern California companies export more to the Asia-Pacific region and to indeed other markets all around the world is why we're here on this second stop of our New Markets, New Jobs business tour. And the purpose of this multi-city tour, which will take us to a different city each month for the rest of the next several years, is quite simple. We want to help small and medium-sized American businesses sell more of their goods and services all around the world so they can create more jobs here at home in America. And in the next few minutes, I'll explain how we're going to do that. But first, I think it's really important to identify the stakes of what we're talking about today. In his State of the Union address in January, President Obama said it's very important for America to win the future. And he said the most important contest that our nation faces is not between Democrats and Republicans, but between America and countries all around the world that are competing like never before for the jobs and the industries of the future. And the primary goal of the administration is to give businesses like yours the tools that you need to win in this global economy. On one hand, we're aggressively incentivizing investment right here in America. And that's why the December tax cut pact signed by the President included a feature proposed by the President, the new expensing benefit, which will allow companies to write off 100% of their machinery and equipment purchases made in 2011. 100% write-off. This is the largest temporary investment incentive for manufacturers in U.S. history. And in his State of the Union address, President Obama called for comprehensive corporate tax reform. He said that he wants to work with Congress to get rid of the loopholes, level the playing field, and use those savings to lower the corporate tax rate for the first time in 25 years, all without raising the deficit. And at the same time, the administration is making unprecedented efforts to help companies like yours break into foreign markets. The simple fact is that the more American companies export, the more they produce. And the more they produce, the more workers they need. And that means good-paying jobs, jobs that we badly need in America. Consider that exports directly support nearly 10 million jobs in America, more than 700,000 right here in California. And that 1 in every 3 manufacturing jobs and almost 1 in 5 agricultural jobs is tied directly to exports. And these are good-paying jobs that pay on average 15% higher than the typical wage in America. Exactly the type of jobs that we need more of. And that's why earlier last year, President Obama announced his National Export Initiative, which mobilizes departments throughout the federal government to double U.S. exports by the year 2015, supporting millions of new jobs. And we're already off to a good start. Exports, in fact, have been a key driver of America's economic recovery over the last 2 years, accounting for nearly half of U.S. economic growth since the recession ended in mid-2009. That represents exports' biggest share of U.S. growth over an 18-month stretch period. And exports today actually account for almost 13% of the entire U.S. economic output, which is the highest share of our economy since the Department of Commerce started keeping statistics back in 1929. So exports as a share of the U.S. economy is the highest it's been since 1929. And exports to Asia have been a major part of this top-line increase. Last year, U.S. exports to Asia exceeded those to Europe for the first time. And merchandise exports to Asia in particular were up 27% last year. But there's still plenty of room to grow. And current projections for East Asia's economic expansion in the coming year surpasses 7%. The Asian economies are growing at a phenomenal rate, and that means opportunities for American companies. And the Obama administration wants to ensure that American companies capitalize on these opportunities. You saw a great example last December when President Obama signed a landmark trade agreement with South Korea. And we're working very hard to get this deal through the United States Senate. And if it passes, it could boost annual U.S. exports to Korea by $11 billion per year, supporting and generating some 70,000 American jobs. And America's economic output is expected to grow more from the U.S.-Korea agreement than from our last 9 trade agreements combined. That's the value and the significance of the U.S.-Korea Free Trade Agreement. The United States has also been very active in the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, or APEC, the top organization for strengthening regional economic integration in the Asia-Pacific community. This May, the Commerce Department is hosting a major meeting for small and medium-sized companies in Big Sky, Montana, aimed at helping APEC member governments build a better environment in which your companies can operate. And we urge you to attend those meetings in Montana. Small to medium-sized businesses are absolutely critical to expanding American trade with Asia and indeed all around the world. Despite the progress that we've seen in growing American exports over the last 5 years, there is so much more that we can do. Consider the fact that only 1% of U.S. companies export. And of that 1%, 58% export to only one country, typically Canada and Mexico. Simply put, 58% of all U.S. companies that export to only one country, primarily Canada and Mexico. Now, of course, it's important to sell more within the United States. But in a global economy where you have 95% of the world's consumers living outside the borders of the United States, you've got to go where the customers are. And the more markets that you're selling in, the more diversified your customer base is. And that's why U.S. companies that export significant levels generally held up better than companies that didn't during this past recession. And the truth of the matter is, your made-in-USA goods and services are highly desired and in great demand all around the world. Now, there are plenty of reasons why U.S. companies don't export. They may have trouble getting the financing that they need to produce more of their goods for export. They may be worried about getting timely payment from an unfamiliar customer in a strange land. They may have difficulty understanding and navigating foreign customs and regulations. And they may not have the networks to get the meetings that they need to get potential distributors, customers, or even foreign government decision makers. And the National Export Initiative is designed to help more companies like those gathered here today to overcome all of these hurdles. We understand that when you're running a small, medium-sized business, you're too busy trying to make sure that you can meet the payroll, trying to fill orders, trying to find additional customers here. You might not have the time to go searching for government services that can help your businesses. Well, that's why we're coming to you. And over the last several days, we've had representatives from the Export-Import Bank, the Small Business Administration, even the Department of Agriculture here. And from the Commerce Department, we've got representatives from our International Trade Administration, which advocates for U.S. businesses in 77 countries around the world. We actually have outreach teams in more than 100 cities here in America. All you need to do is pick up the phone and call 1-800-USA-TRADE. 1-800-USA-TRADE, or go onto our website. Commerce Department experts will work with you to design and implement a market entry or expansion strategy. They'll conduct an international search to find potential agents or distributors for your unique business. And they'll even contact potential customers overseas. Because our foreign commercial service officers and our trade specialists in these almost 80 countries around the world, their sole job is to find buyers and customers for made-in-USA goods and services. Almost to think of it as a matchmaking for exporters. And we'll keep searching for partners and customers for you until you find the right fit. And our local teams can connect you with resources from our other government partners, like the Export-Import Bank. You know, to cite one example of the great work that Export-Import Bank does. I mean, I know that many people around the country, say, oh, if I sell to Massachusetts from California, if I don't get paid, I know how to get legal redress. I'm not too worried about chasing after that company in Massachusetts. But what happens if I export, let's say, to Hungary or to France or Germany or Saudi Arabia and I don't get paid? That's why I'm worried about exporting. Well, one of the great products of the Export-Import Bank is that they sell products that actually guarantee payment from a foreign customer of yours so that you could sleep at night. Those are the type of services that we offer. And, we actually have 2 export assistance teams right here in Los Angeles, and they've got a proven track record of connecting California businesses to foreign markets. If you look at what the work that one of our teams did for Cappuccino Inc., that's a small gourmet coffee mix manufacturing company based in Palm Springs. And since connecting with our commercial service teams, this company has gone from exporting to 5 countries to more than 25 countries. And our team has helped them meet foreign health certificate requirements. We've helped them with due diligence on distribution channels. We've helped them connect to foreign representatives at regional trade events throughout Southern California. And now Cappuccino derives almost half of its sales from exports, almost double what it was 10 years ago. Our goal here this week is to help everyone enjoy this kind of success. And I know that for many companies in Southern California, you're just beginning to see the benefits of an economy that's growing again. And we're positive that the momentum will continue in the years ahead. But one thing is clear. One thing is clear. For the American economy to produce the millions of new jobs that we need in the years ahead, small and medium-sized businesses like yours must lead the way. And when you succeed, the entire American economy succeeds. All of the American people succeed. And the Obama administration will do everything it can to provide you the help that you need. So thank you, everyone, for coming again. And I guess we're supposed to take a few questions now. Is that right? So I'm more than happy to take a few questions. But thank you very much for your great attention and your time. I have to say, looking out of the audience, I see a lot of great friends. Sidney Rittenberg, of course. Everyone knows about Sidney, who's had an incredible journey and history in China and is consulted and revered by all the Chinese leaders. But thank you, Sidney, for being here and for your great work on behalf of U.S.-China relations and an incredible story. And I see many, many other friends, and I won't try to name them all. But anyway, good to see you all. Thank you.
Alex Schuh. Michael.
Secretary, as a Chinese American, I'm really, really proud of your achievement. And you have one important position. You already served as the Secretary for Commerce. You're going to take the ambassador's job. Between the two, which one do you think is going to be more challenging to you? And in what way?
Well,
okay. Which one are you going to enjoy better?
Well, not having started the job of ambassador, not even being confirmed by the United States Senate yet, I can't say which one I'll enjoy better. But let me just say that obviously they're unique, and I have really enjoyed being Secretary of Commerce and really proud of the great work that we have done. The President's goal of the National Export Initiative is to double U.S. exports over the next several years, over the next 5 years. And as the mayor indicated, as long as we increase exports every year by 14%, when you compound that annually, we will reach the goal of doubling exports. We're actually on track to do that. In the first year, we've increased exports by some 17%. Our exports to China are almost at an all-time high. Exports to China were actually up 32%. Agricultural exports all around the world are expected so far are the second highest in U.S. history, and next year should be the highest. So we're on a good pace to meet the President's goal. I'm also proud of the incredible work that we've done in Commerce Department, which includes patent and trademark. Right now, I know that for entrepreneurs, people are concerned about how long it takes to get a patent. Right now, it's a little over 3 years. Starting next month, for a small, very small extra fee, we will guarantee that you can get your patent determination in 1 year. In 1 year. Our census came in 25% under budget, saving the taxpayers almost $2 billion, and we had an all-time record mail-back response rate when all the experts were predicting disaster. We're doing a lot on fisheries. We're doing a lot on weather forecasting. We were able to give the tsunami warning within 9 minutes after the earthquake struck. And a lot of our economic development grants that we give out to communities, whether port improvement projects, to research parks and business incubator parks, research laboratories, instead of taking 8 months to decide the application as of January 1, it's down to 18 business days. 18 business days. So we're really making a difference in the Department of Commerce, and quite frankly, we've got a lot of great individuals and employees at the Department of Commerce, including our commercial service officers and our foreign trade specialists. In fact, I want all of them to stand up. All of our commercial service officers and employees from the Department of Commerce, stand up. Stand up. Many of them coming from the Asia region, but these are the folks that you need to, keep standing up. Keep standing up. We're not done yet. Stand up. If you have any questions about how you can help your company sell more all around the world, these are the folks that will help you find those buyers and customers for your made-in-USA goods and services. And these guys, who represent great teams back in their U.S. offices as well as foreign offices, have incredible teams of people whose sole job, again, is to find those customers and buyers for you. So take advantage of them. Take advantage of them. Look them up, all right? Great. Thank you very much. As for China, that's a very, very important relationship. And the President, when he asked me to do this, says, I know that you're a good manager at Commerce Department, but this is a big deal. The economic strategic relationship with China. And obviously a lot of challenges, concerns about intellectual property rights protection, a level playing field, and making sure that we can open markets for U.S. products and services, and ensuring that the Chinese government live up to the agreements that they made when they entered into the WTO. So it's going to be a very challenging one, but also one that we look with great excitement. And I think my dad was very, very proud. I know my dad was very proud when the President swore me in or presided over the swearing-in ceremony when I became Commerce Secretary. But I quite frankly think he'd be even more proud to know that one of his children is returning to the ancestral homeland as the U.S. ambassador to China. So thank you.
My name is Yufu Chen from Innovation Center for Energy and Transportation, NGO based in Beijing, China, and Los Angeles here. As you know, the energy shortage and climate change are two pressing issues facing the world. I would like to know, for the green energy efficiency project, I think both US and China has put a great emphasis on this. But for the green energy and energy efficiency projects, the government needs to step in to support for the business to grow sustainably and healthily. And a lot of companies are thinking that the Chinese government is supporting green energy too much. That creates an unfair situation for U.S. company to compete with. I'm not sure what's your view on this, and how should the government support? Do you think the U.S. government and Chinese government should reach agreement on what degree the government should step in to support this business? Thank you.
Well, clearly, green energy is going to be one of the industries of the future, and certainly here in California and Southern California, you have a lot of companies that are on the cutting edge of the research and the innovation in clean energy. A lot of people have kind of taken potshots at the Recovery Act, which the President and the Democratic Congress got through shortly in early 2009. But you need to know that in the Recovery Act, almost a third of that was for tax relief for working families above and beyond the Bush tax cuts. A good chunk of that Recovery Act was extended unemployment benefits with all the unemployment that we have in California and around the country. When people have extended unemployment benefits, what do they do with it? They go to the stores and they put food on the table for their family, and they provide shoes and clothes for their family members as well. That supports many other merchants, and that keeps the economy going. And another big chunk of the Recovery Act was actually infrastructure projects, those roads and bridges that needed to be repaired, that the longer you wait, the more expensive it is. But you have those engineers, you have those construction workers, you have those pavers. They're working as a result of the Recovery Act, doing this road construction, and they shop in malls, eat in restaurants, and support many other businesses as well. An unknown piece of that Recovery Act was almost $100 billion for clean energy investments in terms of R&D incentives as well as grants for companies to continue moving forward. Some people have likened this almost $100 billion in Energy Department grants out of the Recovery Act as the largest venture capital fund for clean energy in the world. And in fact, it has actually leveraged about 5 or 6 times more private sector dollars than that. And so we know that we've got to move forward on clean energy. And as we see with the troubles in the Middle East, the instability in terms of oil, and even in terms of what's happening in Japan, we've got to diversify our energy portfolio. And one of the keys to becoming more energy independent is energy efficiency. That is really the low-hanging fruit, and you can achieve almost a 20% reduction in the use of electricity, which means you don't have to build as many power plants as quickly as otherwise necessary if we're able to get more efficiency out of the current system. And that's efficiency from the transmission of electricity going through the high-voltage transmission lines, going through, from north to south or across the different states. That's why the Department of Commerce is actually taking the lead in developing the new standards for smart grid, a smart electrical grid, so that as these new products and software and innovations, including products that will be tied to your electric clothes dryer, so that there's standardization so that all the companies are developing products that will be interoperable, that will work all around the world and indeed the United States. Part of smart grid means, for instance, developing the standards so that you can actually program through your home computer or at work, tell your clothes dryer to come on at whatever hour your local utility will charge the least. Or it means selling electricity back from your electric vehicle back into the grid when your utility will pay you the most. But for all of smart grid and for energy efficiency to really take place, we need to provide the incentives for your local utilities, your power companies, and that includes action by the states, to enable the utility companies to get a return on investment, not by building an additional power plant. We're always going to need more power as the population grows. But why not provide an incentive for your power companies, your utility companies, to help homes and businesses become energy efficient? Because that can actually save the taxpayer money and reduce electricity, free up electricity, as opposed to having to build a new power plant. Right now, most utilities are not financially allowed to do that. They can only get greater compensation, can charge higher rates, only if you build a new power plant, as opposed to trying to get efficiencies out of the current system. So those are some of the things that really need to be done. But the administration has been very, very, has focused extensively on clean energy technology, because we believe that the President says that the country that leads in the clean energy sector will indeed lead the world economy. And China is spending almost some $9 to $10 billion per month on a clean energy sector. And they're doing this not just to reduce greenhouse gas emissions or to clean up the environment. They're doing this because they want to be the world supplier of green energy technology, because they know that with that come millions of jobs. We in America need to have an energy policy. And there are a lot of different proposals throughout the Congress on how to do that. We just need to have a policy. Because so many companies, American companies, are sitting on the sidelines, not willing to invest and put R&D or hard-earned capital into technology A, for fear that U.S. energy policy, a year from now, 2 years from now, will favor technology Z. So everybody is sitting on the sidelines. We're standing on the sidelines. At the same time, China is racing ahead. And if we don't watch out in a few years, we're going to wake up and say, how is it that China, or even Berlin and Germany and other countries in Europe, have become the next Silicon Valley of clean energy with the millions of jobs supplying the products for the world, and we're left behind? So the President is very, very committed to clean energy technology and a clean energy industry, but we also need to have a clean energy policy at the national level, and we need to make sure that state regulators provide the flexibility for local utilities, public and private, to recoup investments on energy efficiency instead of just building more power plants. Thank you all very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are adjourned. The conference begins in 15 minutes. Back at Davidson. Thank you very much.
Picture or not. Try to get